What's going on, gamers? What's going on, ponies? What's going on, PC lovers, Xbox, Nintendo lovers, and just gaming lovers in general, and tech lovers, tech comparison lovers. So here we have a video of the Turk who's cool. He's up to me, I'm sub to him. I like Turk, he's awesome. He's done a video to try to see if we can find a PS5 Pro equivalent GTU by running tests. He has a RTX 3070, an RTX 4070, and an AMD RX 6800. And we're going to do some tests here. Well, he's doing test here, and we're going to see what's going on here. So let me know what you think, like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, this is going to be an interesting one because we're going to see some stuff that, of course, doesn't surprise us because we've done stuff before, and I've had some conversations with him before, just, comments on the channel about how people were wrong because I made up a lot of rumors saying that it was going to be on par with a 4070. You got some people going farther than that. They went in a 4080 range, and we don't want to talk about people who thinks they can go far beyond that because I'm like, yeah, I don't know what world you're living in, but please get out of it because it's not real. And then there's people that were just very toxic and on Twitter big time prior to this, making fun of people, trying to bash people playing on the Series X, and just being toxic, talking about people getting ripped off paying this much for a PC because the PS5 Pro is going to be performing on a level of like a $1,500 PC. Some people went to far as 2,000. And then we have to understand why we're making these videos to show people facts here, right? Not be dumb and ignorant and attack people, making up fantasies, talking about 33.4 teraflops. You got some people going farther than that. It was just getting really bad. Talking about RDNA 3, RDNA 4, just all this nonsense. PSSR is going to be right behind DLSS, and none of that was true at all. And now when stuff hits the fans, they still want to be childish and try to attack you, try to call you nonsense. It's not related when you're just showing the truth. So let's go ahead and take a look at this, and we're going to see some more honest results. I don't care what ponies think because we know how slow they are. They're the slowest out of all gaming basis communities. If I even call them part of a community, because I just don't think that they are. But let's go ahead and do this.
3 different GPUs to size up against the PS5 Pro. From AMD, we've got the RDNA 2 based RX 6800. On paper, it's pretty close with renders.
Yeah, so let's look at the R8 6800. RX 6800. So, I mean, this is a good card. It's not a bad card. Right? Should kind of be closer to 3070 as he's going to be using. It has a lot of VRAM in it too.
Speeds above the advertised Pro's spec, but ray tracing performance is lagging behind a little bit. You could also consider the RX 7700 XT, but I don't have hands on that device. Also, AMD has yet to deliver an AI-driven upscaler, which might just disqualify it from consideration altogether. For NVIDIA, I've got the RTX 3070. It's kind of the opposite of the 6800, with lower rasterization performance, but improved RT, and it also includes an AI upscaler. The major downside to this card is the lack of sufficient VRAM. It is workable, but some of the game's textures these days require a bit much of the card. And for good measure, we've got the RTX 4070. Digital Foundry says it's roughly 40% faster than the Pro in Alan Wake 2, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Now, the
40% faster, as you see, he says. So, like, if you wanted to go shopping for this card, which I think a lot of stuff's unreasonable, you can get it for a decent price. So let's see, what if they were selling this at Best Buy? Yeah, around $429. They even have a good deal on lower aspects, but basically it's around that price range, depending on what type of model you want to get. So you
problem with comparing PCs to consoles is threefold. First, we have to compare like for like against the quality settings.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I've got a back catalog of console equivalent settings from Digital Foundry, so I'll be using those to dial in. Also, we do have to keep in mind some of the PC options might be more or less than what the console will deliver, but we'll take that on a case-by-case basis. Next is resolution. The concept of resolution can be more complex, as game developers can fine-tune their console application better than their PC counterpart, sometimes using resolutions like 1224p or 1620p. On PC, we typically only have standard 16:9 ratios. Unless an upscaler enables percentage-based tuning, many of these resolutions are just impossible to achieve. The last problem for comparison is the utilization of dynamic resolution scaling. If setting a custom resolution wasn't enough of a problem for PC, the console gets even better features with DRS. If the load on the GPU is too much for the console, the game can dynamically adjust its resolution to maintain its frame rate target.
Yeah.
For example, if you stare up at the sky, sure, you might hit 4K resolution, but if you start to look down at a fog-laden area or an intense particle fight, that resolution will drop like a rock. However, the performance will still stay at its target. So when comparing the PC to the console, we've got to consider that as well. So how the heck do we address all three of these at the same time? Now, I've been doing a lot of digging, and there's a hidden gem here on YouTube, and that's the user Brazil Pixel. Through their adaptations of the Teardrop program, not only can we monitor the frame time and frame rate of a video capture, Brazil Pixel's tool can also decipher the internal resolution of the frame. This is fantastic.
That's awesome.
We can now see the actual resolution in real time, and we don't have to look back at Digital Foundry's antiquated manual pixel measurement methodology. So we're armed with an initial set of GPUs and a thorough analysis tool. Let's put it all to rest. How powerful is the PS5 Pro? The first game I want to look at is Alan Wake 2. The developers gave us a clear definition of the settings they use on the PS5 Pro. Fortunately, they are also using static resolutions for their performance and quality modes. This configuration gives us a chance to look at Brazil Pixel's results in a best-case scenario. Performance mode on the Pro takes the previous quality mode and ramps it up to 60 FPS. The unfortunate side effect here is that the resolution goes down to a grim 864p, which is always a problematic starting point.
Yep.
In quality mode, the Pro utilizes the same graphic settings as before and introduces ray traced reflections into the mix. The game maintains a 1224p resolution at 30 FPS with the additional settings.
So you see what he's doing here, and he's giving you all the stats here. So there's no arguing against this. You're just seeing honest results here. And we're going to get into comparing these to the other GPUs on PC with the similar settings. Though I could say I could use a way better CPU than the PlayStation 5, and I could use double the RAM and all that stuff, a better motherboard, all that. But, you know, we're going to do this.
We can't fine-tune these PCs' exact resolutions without the use of mods, but we can run at 1080p and 720p for performance mode. As for quality mode, we can run at 1256p with DLSS and balanced mode, which is pretty darn close. In the town area, these targets work as well as we would hope on the PS5 Pro. 60 FPS in performance and 30 FPS in quality mode. So how about that 3070? In performance mode, the circuit around town at 1080p shows a single dip into the 50s, suggesting that we are above the PS5's targets. And 720p reinforces the target with plenty of margin to spare. Nevertheless, we also look to be CPU limited here. So how about quality mode? With minimal reflections in this route, 50 FPS shows that we've got a bit of room to spare. So let's drive on over to Cauldron Lake. On the Pro, we're already sub 50 FPS heading out of the Witch's Hut in performance mode as we head down to the lake, with an average frame rate down at the bottom middle of your screen of around 55 FPS. The 3070 at 1080p hits the mid-40s coming out of the hut, and 720p manages to hang close to the Pro's performance. Quality mode follows suit, staying comfortably above 30 FPS in the top half of the run, but as soon as we get to the lake, we come strikingly close to 30 FPS. Keep in mind, on PC, we're running with higher post-processing settings, better ray trace reflections, and an ever so slightly higher resolution. So I'd say all three of these factors keep us confirmed. Now let's put the 6800 under the microscope. We'll just jump straight into the forest section for this, as that's the clear performance bottleneck. In performance mode at 1080p, out of the hut, we hit the upper 40s, and as we get to the first bend, we're comfortably in the 50s. And just like the RTX 3070, we drop back into the upper 40s once we get close to the water. But at 720p, we stay in that upper 50 sweet spot throughout the entire run, suggesting that if we could engage 864p, we would be an excellent match for the Pro's performance. Quality mode with RT is the biggest test for the 6800. And as expected, it does suffer a bit. In the upper half of the run, we're in the mid 30s, even with some spikes close to 40, but the reflections and alpha effects above the lake tank the performance. There's a roughly 8-second stretch through the lake with performance in the mid 20s. Putting both of the GPUs side by side, what we mentioned earlier pans out. The 3070 handles RT better, while the 6800 is faster with raw rasterization. So, how about the RTX 4070? In quality mode, we have mid 40s coming out of the hut, moving up to the lower 50s at the halfway point, and mid to lower 40s in the water. To put that in PS5 Pro terms, the 4070 is at least 43% faster than the Pro.
43% faster. See? It's more on par with a 4060. Right? And a 4060 Ti is better than what's in the Pro. And I've been telling people this.
Let's continue to drive the point home with F124. I don't have access to a 4K x 120Hz capture card, so I'm going to focus on quality mode, with the PS5 Pro effectively running the ultra high preset with only RT shadow.
It also is not beating the 3070 either. So
Disabled. All the other RT effects are in play. F1 is known for its superb performance, and it presents our first proper foray into analysis with dynamic resolution scaling in play. Watching Brazil Pixel's video, he runs the Great Britain map with the TV pod camera view. This configuration differs from DF's use of Monaco, but we'll get to that track in short order. Off the starting line, we see resolutions between 1210p and 1320p with an effective max resolution of 1440.
So when they're telling you it's running 4K, it's not. It's an upscale. You see, they're actually doing like 1400p and upscaling it to 4K.
In PC terms, this resolution hovers between DLSS in quality mode and balanced mode. Now, the tricky part is to compare when the PS5 Pro would be running either of those modes and see where the PC equivalent GPU would be from an FPS perspective.
Yeah.
First up, the RTX 3070. Coming out of the first hairpin corner, we hit our first sample of 1440p resolution. And would you look at that? Right at the upper 50s and with a locked 1440p. We're consistently at a higher resolution while floating between 56 and 62 FPS. Coming out of the hairpin, we're right on top of the PS5 Pro's frame rate. Into the second hairpin, we do see a dip, but within moments, we're just back on top. Keep in mind, on the Pro, the resolution is dynamic, so we can't get an exact 1-for-1 here. Still, by any reasonable person's standards, this has got to be close enough. Now, let's get the RX 6800.
So you see what he's saying. The Pro is dropping down to try to keep up. It's staying 1440p and it's not dropping down. It's trying to get close, but it isn't matching it. At a lower resolution, dynamic settings. So it's not beating the 3070. And it's not getting on par with it, but it's trying to get there.
On the grid. In the first hairpin turn, the 6800 is at 55 FPS, while the Pro is at 1390p, which is a reasonable delta in favor of the Pro. But in that second hairpin turn, the 6800 is right at 58 FPS, while the Pro hits 1440p and promptly drops down to 1349p. So across the track, these two contenders trade blows, with the 6800 averaging 52 FPS over the entire run versus 1366p of the Pro. This result just looks so close, but it does tend to push in favor of the PS5.
So you see, in order for PlayStation 5 to even get like 1 or 2 more frames per second, they have to drop down. So it's not like they're beating the 6800, but they can get a bit of an advantage if they drop down the resolution.
5 Pro. As for the RTX 4070, what more is there to say?
It's gonna blow it out.
At a static 1440p, the card averages 72 FPS across the entire run, proving it would not scale anywhere close to the PS5 Pro's performance. So, how about Monaco? It is a heavier map than Great Britain. According to my conversations with Oliver from Digital Foundry, he counted pixels between 1080p and 1188p, suggesting we'd be between DLSS in balanced and performance mode. As I showed in my last video, the RX 6800 struggles in the close hairpin turn with the cars densely packed together, but it opens up coming into the tunnel. The 3070 fares better here, maintaining 60 FPS in balanced mode, confirming our results that the 3070 handles the RT better than the AMD card. So at least in F124, the 3070 is a solid equivalent GPU, while
And you see it's running at 1255p while the 6800 has to do 1080p, and it's still pretty much getting better frames. And the 4070 is doing what it's doing, but it's running at 1440p.
the 6800 lags behind a few frames, but it's within the striking distance. Now let's take a closer look at a...
So that's pretty much to give you guys a good idea, like, you know, how things actually work here. Now, like, if you want to watch the rest of this video, I'll link it, but you guys kind of get the point there. The PS5 Pro will be closer to an RX 6800, but it's not going to fully match its resolution. When it comes to NVIDIA, it can't match the equivalent. NVIDIA cards are better. And also they have better AI upscalers as well. And he was just like limiting the CPU, like on it. Nobody's really going to do that, but it's just good to even show you like the difference there. So it just gives you an idea. But it's not better than a 3070. So people were even thinking 4070 were out of their damn minds. And I explained before that it doesn't have NPUs, it doesn't have dedicated tensor cores like NVIDIA cards do, and it's not fully integrated. It's not an APU system where you combine the CPU and the GPU together. So if you look at that, you see it's missing all those features, but it tries to do what it can at full like blast to do that. Where the PC doesn't necessarily have to do that. It's kind of like more balanced. So at the end of the day, we know that 40-something% behind, yeah, that's not even close. We can understand like, oh yeah, 15% behind, right? No, it said he's at 43%. Even Digital Foundry said averaging 40% higher on everything. Not even close. It's trying to compete with the 4060 and the RX 6800. So there you have it. That's not really an argument. That shuts down everything, and that gives you like real honest results. If you still want to argue against this, then you're just an idiot to me. You're a moron. And a lot of the PlayStation fanboys are like that. It's like, what are you still talking about after this point? The truth is out. It's right there. It's been shown in your face multiple times. There's nothing else to talk about that. When you see that 1 + 1 = 2, why would you start an argument after that unless you're like mentally slow to me? And or just downvote that, you know what I mean? Because if they could, they would do that. And that just shows you the type of mindset of somebody that only wants the brand to look good rather than accepting honest results and giving credit where it's actually due. It says a lot about them rather than what the honest results are. That's why being like that is not good. Just, yeah, snap out of that. All right, y'all, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what y'all think. I'm glad to share this truth. Turk is awesome. Like I said, I've had conversations with him. He's a cool guy. And I'm going to let him know that I reacted to this. Peace.